Hey guys, Jess with Peekaboo Wreath. So we are back to work on our newest wreath. If you guys didn't catch all the steps, sorry, you can see my coffee here. If you didn't catch all the steps, head over to our playlist and get your information. We finished that nice big vintage wreath. It turned out so pretty. It turned out like really green and red, which I was not expecting, but I absolutely love it. We are going to work today on a thin profile wreath. Sometimes they're called pancake wreath. Sometimes they're called storm door wreaths. Whatever you call them, they fit between two doors, and that's what we're going to try to offer here. So these wreaths, they always try to prove me wrong. I always say to myself, you know, that they're not my favorite as much as the big ones because you can't jam as much. But you know what? We're going to. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be fine. Okay, so this is the mesh we're going to be using. This is 10-inch mesh. It's gorgeous red with white stripe, and it's cut to 20 inches long. This is the sign we're going to be using. Is that not the cutest thing? It's like a rustic red, and it has a green sprig, so we're going to be putting those on the top. And it says hot cocoa with extra marshmallows, North Pole, served daily with Christmas spirit. Guys, come on. That is like the cutest thing. And I'm really excited because the bow that I'm going to be using, or the ribbon I'm going to be using for the bow, I thought I was going to use this because it's so beautiful, but we're not going to today because we are trying to keep it the thin profile. And I found something even better. Look at this ribbon here. It's red. It has like the same like design. And you know what? It is like, it feels like it's like crocheted. Like the white actually sticks up from the red. It is fantastic. And we're going to be using that in our bow. And then to bring in the rustic feel, we're going to be using that. So that's what we're going to be doing our bow, which we might not get to today, but for sure I wanted to show you our sign. The way that I attach this to my wreath, it looks a little bit crazy on the back, but I staple a pipe cleaner with like a serious stapler that can go through like, it's like a power stapler. I staple these pipe cleaners, then I hot glue them, and then I twist them together and I put it into my wreath. And then I also put one of my cards on there. So let me just do this while I'm thinking about it. And then we are gonna need 12 pieces of the 10-inch mesh cut to 20 inches long. So instead of the 18 pieces, we need 12. The way, like I said before, the way that this wreath works is it looks full and fluffy from the top, but then it's only about 4 inches deep. So it allows people with storm doors that don't want to display it on the outside. Although I always tell people will say, when they come to my craft shows, or they see these wreaths in real life, they'll say, oh my goodness, I love it, but I can't hang it because I have a storm door. And I'm always like, oh, well, you could always hang it on the outside of your storm door. You know, if you have a covered porch, that's what I do, because I love the full wreath. And they make fantastic hooks you can put on your glass door. They sell magnetic ones that you can put the hook on the outside and the other part on the inside, and it magnetizes through the glass. They sell over the door ones, which is the one that I use, clear ones, which you can't even see the hook. Lots of choices for you. But if you don't want to do that, or maybe you don't have a covered porch, here we go, I'm making something for you. Okay, so this is the same 14-inch frame that we tend to use, but it only needs 12 ties. So the pipe cleaners are cut to the same. I always cut out like an inch or two off. But this time we're just gonna do these two together, and then these two together, but not like here, here, and here, just here and here, all the way around, okay? So we're gonna have 6 on the outside and 6 on the inside for 12. So not 18. You're gonna have a little bit of mesh left on the roll, about a third of your roll of mesh left for another project. So technically you can get 3 of these wreaths out of 2 rolls of mesh because you only use 12 pieces and each roll has 18. So there you go. So yes, that's my goal. When I go to my craft show, people are gonna say, these are so full, I love them, but I can't display them. And I'll say, don't worry, look right there. We have a whole bunch that'll fit between your 2 doors. And they're not gonna look at them and say, oh, I'll think about it and walk away. No, they're not gonna say that. They're gonna say, yes, I love this one, and buy it, right? You guys, it's so funny. I'm so like I so love adding like all the ornaments in, all the bells, all the things, that I don't tend to make these thinner profile wreaths very often. But since I'm doing my show, I want to have some options for people, because lots of us here in Michigan do have storm doors, although I've heard the people have storm doors in other states as well, not just Michigan and not just the Midwest. So lots of choices here. But if you have a storm door, if I haven't convinced you enough, this is gonna be your wreath. All right, so we tie them tight enough, not breaking the weld, but making sure that they do not move. Okay, I cut all my mesh. We are gonna kind of put it on the same way we do. Actually, before we put this on, we're gonna cut our ribbon, because we put our ribbon in when we put our mesh in. Okay, so let me just set this aside. Again, 12. Okay, 6 on the inside, 6 on the outside. All right, so this is the ribbons these are the ribbons we're gonna use. Not this is the ribbons. These are the ribbons. Let's speak correct English. All right, so we're gonna need to be cut 12 to the top and 14 on the bottom, because that bottom layer, the mesh, is gonna be covered by the top layer, so the ribbons have to be a little bit longer. Okay, so here, let me get my ribbon cutting scissors, which is right here. We're gonna be doing this red one in all of them, so we need 12 of this. So let me just cut that real quick, and then, okay, so 6 at 14. Let's do it real quick. And then I love this because it has the red and the snowflakes, because what goes good with hot cocoa, but obviously marshmallows, but snowflakes too, because it's nice and cold. Okay, so here's our 6 at 14. I'm gonna set these aside. If you don't want to watch me cut ribbon, you can fast forward a little bit if you want. I promise I won't do it too long. Okay. And then these are going to be cut at 12. So I'm going to try to keep them separated, so I put them on the right level. And then I'm going to be putting in some pine sprigs on the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. These are cut. These are 1.5 inch widths. Again, they're cut 12 inches long. You guys, if you have not liked or commented or subscribed to my channel or this video, please take a moment and do that. I am very close to getting to 2,000 subscribers, and every interaction or subscription I get helps tell YouTube that people like me, and then they can show me to more people, right? It's called your reach, and if it shows that people like you, then they'll show your stuff to more people. So it just kind of, it's called the algorithm. It's kind of like a game. You got to figure out the rules, right? Making wreaths and selling wreaths is a lot more than just wreaths, right? A little bit of thought put into that. So, all right, so here's our 12, and there's our 14, okay? These are our 12, we'll put these ahead because we're gonna be, nope, we'll put the 14s ahead because we're gonna be putting the 14s down first on that bottom layer. And clear this out of the way. You guys will have to let me know if you guys have been making Christmas wreaths, or if you're thinking about that yet. Okay, we're gonna alternate this one and this one. I just have a teeny tiny bit on here, and I just might as well use up the rest here. It's probably not gonna get very many for me, but let's do that. We can cut these together. We'll need 6 of each one. And this is really, these two were from Hobby Lobby in the Christmas section. That red one is from either Sam's or Costco. I can never keep them straight. All right, so we're doing 14 first. Those reds are slightly different. That's what I was caught off guard by that. But you know what? We'll make it work. All right. So 14. So we got. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if we can get. Okay, these are cut to 14. Let's see. Can we get one more on that red one? That would be helpful, because then we would have 2 of each of the reds. Because even though these reds, the red stitching look the same, apparently they're slightly different, which it's all in the details here at Peek of the Wreath, so it's not okay. But we're gonna, we have the exact amount we need, so we'll do, you know, this red, that one, it'll all work out just fine. All right, so these are 14. Did I cut too many? 6, no, 3. We need 3 more of this one. Something satisfying about, no. Hold on. No, we only need 6. We cut too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we did. We can shorten those. Okay, so there's that. And here's our 14s. Okay, so that's that. We gotta dovetail them. Let me just stick my elbow there for a second. You guys, I'm not used to making this design with just 6. Come on. All right. You guys will have to let me know if you've ever made a wreath like this. I know a fellow wreath maker came up with this idea. Her name is Mel, and she called them pancake wreaths because they're skinny like pancakes. So if you've been around for a second, you kind of know. Okay, so I need. All right, let's put this dark red one away because it's not gonna work out. Okay, so we have these 2, which we're gonna cut to 12. So let's take a couple inches off there. Okay, yep, okay. And then let me pull this one back up. Okay, so we have 2, we need 4 more, so 2 more cuts. You guys, all this math. Okay. All right. All right, so we're just gonna dovetail these. And we're gonna make sure that we're putting them in the right order so that it's one less thing we have to think about. So this wreath is a lot bit quicker to make because you can't include all those embellishments, and it has 12 pieces instead of 18. All right, so that is all our ribbon right there. All right, so let me set this aside. Let's pull up our wreath form and our mesh, because when we're gonna put our mesh in, we're gonna be putting our ribbon into. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're gonna start in the outside ring. We're gonna go all the way around the outside, and then we're gonna pop up to the inside, which is the top ring. Okay. All right, so here we go. All right, so we are going to ruffle this the same way we normally do with our thumbs, except we're not gonna roll it underneath, okay? When we do our other wreaths, we want it to be full and fluffy, and these ones, we want it to look that way, but not actually be that way, okay? So we don't need to open up that pipe cleaner. We're just gonna set this down on top of it. We're gonna get one very tight twist, okay? So now what we're gonna do with this, instead of like fluffing up the sides, is we're gonna overlap it, kind of like a flower. Here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you guys can see that a little bit better. But you wanna kind of turn it under, like this, okay? And if you get any little frays, you can always, trim them up a little bit. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. Yes? Sorry about that. There we go. All right, there we go. All right, we had our far camera angle on because we just got done with that other wreath and putting the embellishments in. All right, so these are cut to 14, and I'm just folding it in half. I'm gathering it like this, and then I'm gonna kind of fold it. I want my ribbon tails to be about the same length on both sides. And then I'm just gonna take my pipe cleaner here, set this down, and then we're gonna give it a few twists. And then at this point, you can just tuck those underneath, okay? So there we go. Okay, you gotta trust the process. All right, so there we go. So what you got so far? Okay. All right, excuse me. All right, let me grab the next piece of mesh. Oh my goodness. Instead of saying piece and mesh, I said our next pesh. Okay. All right, we're just gathering it up. Right up the middle like always, keeping our thumb stationary, moving our fingers. Okay, we're gonna put it down in our next pipe cleaner on the outside still. We're gonna do all the outside ones and then switch to the inside. Okay, overlap like that. So it looks kind of like a flower or like a circle. Okay, kind of push it down a little bit. We're gonna grab this, and then we're gonna grab the 2.5 inch, squeeze it in the middle to make sure that that's even. Okay, I can tell that this side's a little bit longer, so we're just gonna go like that. Okay. We're gonna make sure that it's nice and tight. We want it to be as close to the frame as possible, so it's a nice skinny profile. Okay, and then just spread out those ribbons. And grab a second piece of mesh. Something to keep in mind with your mesh is the first cuts, like when you take your roll and you start unrolling it. Let me see if I can put that up a bit. And you start unrolling it, the first cuts are gonna be looser than the inner ones. So if you're making this wreath, try to put those inner ones on the top ring if possible, because they're gonna be like more tightly wound because they're used to being closer to the roll, if that makes sense. I don't know, but I always like to do this with the first 12 cuts if possible from the mesh. I love this. I love these color combinations with that sign. That is perfect. I didn't even remember I bought that sign, but I do like to use that shape sign on these thinner wreaths, because those signs, they take up like 4 spots, and then you can put your bow on top. I don't know if we're gonna get to that part yet, but in this video, but we're gonna try. All right, now we're moving to this one again. So cute. I'm excited about this. And this, you know, I'm not gonna be able to say like, oh, we have those ones over there, but they're not as detailed, because this one is gonna be good. I got a feeling. Okay. So it still measures about 23 to 24 inches wide. It's just that the profile is smaller. Okay. We got a wreath for everyone. Because it would just be silly if I live here in Michigan and I don't make wreaths for people that have storm doors here in Michigan. That would just be rude, right? We don't want anybody left out, especially when it comes to having a gorgeous wreath on their door. Not to give myself too high of a compliment there. But you want to take pride in what you do, right? You want to produce the highest quality product that you possibly can. You know, money is tight for a lot of people right now, and I don't take it lightly that people choose to spend their money with me. Right? I know I'm not unaware that you could just go buy a wreath at the store for less money, but I really value my customers that choose to shop handmade and support a real person. Right? There we go. I probably should have, well, I mean, either way there was going to be 2 reds next to each other. Never mind. I was going to say I should have did the light red stitching and then the holly berries and then the dark red stitching and the holly berries, but that would not, either way there would have been 2 stitchings close to each other unless I did 3 holly berries and 3 stitchings. You know what? We're not going back now. I think it's gonna look gorgeous. I stand by it. I support it. The vision is there. All right, so we're just ruffling it up the center. When you use striped mesh like this, it's easier because you can just stay right in the red, right? Got the white on each side. Okay, so this is the last one on this layer. Okay, again, we are overlapping, making it look kind of like a flower or like a circle. Okay, and like I said, you can kind of see, I'm just going to lift this piece of mesh up and place it down. And then we're going to be putting this last piece of 14-inch ribbon down. And then we're going to jump up to the top layer. And you can see why we do the ribbon when we put in the mesh is because you don't want to put this layer down. You know, you worked hard to make it nice and flat and round and overlapped, and then only to move up to the top and then have to lift up all the layers, and that would be kind of silly. And you have, when you make a mesh wreath, you want to touch it once and move on. The mesh kind of has a tendency to fray, and you don't want that. So here we go. See how skinny it is? Nice and thin, but still with a large profile, right? It's already 24 inches across. All right, so now we're just jumping right up to the top. You can kind of see your pipe cleaners here, and you can always just, what I do is I kind of open them up a little bit, and we're not gonna move the mesh that's underneath. We're just gonna put that second layer right on top of it, okay? And it's gonna give us the coverage that we need. We're not gonna be able to see that frame. And you'll also see when I do it that it's gonna cover up some of the ribbon, and that's why we made them so long. I know they look a little bit floppy right now, but trust the process. Okay, so here we go. Yeah. I know that my mesh is starting to take up some of my table here, but if you need some tutorials on how to ruffle that, you can click on one of the other videos, and it's the same way I always ruffle it, except like I said, with this one I'm not folding under the edge. Okay, so we're just going to twist it once. Okay, we're right on top here, and we're doing the same thing as we did underneath. We're just taking that edge and we're folding it under, and then we're just taking these parts, kind of like if they were the petals or the outside of the circle, and just folding them under a little bit, okay? And see how the ribbon is getting covered up? Okay, so now we're gonna take one of our 12-inch pieces, and this one is also cut to 12, like I said. And what's kind of interesting too is like on our other wreaths, we always use a lot of times 13-inch pieces, and this is kind of evening out, right? Because you use 12 on some and 14 on others, and it equals out to 13, right? Okay, so on the top here, we're gonna separate those ribbons. Okay, they're all wired. You gotta in tightly. It's not gonna go anywhere. There we go. And I do have my glue pot on, I should say, because I am gonna, if you guys remember in the sign there, it had greenery sprigs, and that was one of the things that I loved about that sign. I know I kind of am in like rustic Christmas mode right now with a few of the creations that we've been building, but I liked how it had like a little bit of a distressed edge, but it had red and white, which matches the mesh that I wanted to use, and it had the greenery in it, which I just have been loving to add lately. So you guys will see that the sign, it will cover up 4 spots, okay? So whenever we make wreaths, whether it's this size or the larger size, we know, everyone knows that they're handmade, right? But we don't want it to look homemade, right? There's a difference between something looking like you made it and something looking like, you know, no offense to the children, but like a child made it. All right, we're not going for that. You know, we want to look like we're making a professional product. So, all right, so, you know, I'm gonna be doing a craft shows, but I don't want my items looking like, you know, a popsicle stick stuck to a magnet or anything. No offense, if that's what you do. No offense to the magnet makers out there, because my sister has been making a magnet or two with these gorgeous, I don't know if you guys have seen it on Facebook or not hers, but like other people, they've been making like these floral arrangements with beads or like pipe cleaners. It's something, let me tell you. She made one of them into a magnet and it was gorgeous. So I'm not dogging the magnet makers. I'm just saying. I want my product to look as good as possible, right? Anyways. Okay, so we're just bending that down, placing it in. I made sure that I used pipe cleaners that match our project. All right. When I first started out, people would say, it doesn't matter what color pipe cleaners you use because nobody can see them. Well, yeah, but when they flip it around to the back, they can see them. Right? You don't want to like have this color scheme going on and then use like neon orange or like Easter colors or something. That would be crazy. It's not what we're going for. If that's your thing, do your thing. Sorry, I told you my wreath is getting big here. You can barely see me gathering it up. All right. Okay. Again, we're not gonna move our mesh out of the way. We're just gonna grab our pipe cleaner, grab this one, and just tightly pull it, okay, and just twist it once. Take our edges, we're not gonna lose our pipe cleaner, fold it over, okay, making like a little bit of a circle, okay, push it down a little bit, kind of the opposite of what we normally want, right? We normally don't want it to overlap, but this time we do, and it gives a gorgeous look. Twisting those in here. I've only been in here 25 minutes and we're almost done with our wreath. So yeah, easy to say that these are quicker than the larger ones. I know I did have that mesh prepped already, but not the ribbon. Okay, and turn, grab the other mesh. What do you guys think of this wreath so far? Have you guys tried one of these wreaths before? There we go. Find my pipe cleaners. Alright. Okay, just placing it down in there, giving it one twist, overlapping our mesh, folding it under, giving it a little press, putting our ribbons in. There we go. And like I said, I already have my sign prepped. I showed you guys that. So we can put our sign in right after this. And then I did have my greenery that I was going to use. I'll have to find that. It's probably right off camera here. Alright, let's put our last piece of mesh in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, last piece. I had an extra one cut for some reason, so I must have been not counting correctly. Alright, we're over here. Pulling up our pipe cleaners. Placing it down. Alright, there we go. I couldn't find it for a second there. Okay, a tight twist. And we're going to take this part of our mesh, overlap it. You can always pick up this mesh that's next to it so that all of them are underneath one. There we go. I'm just going to gather it together. With that theme too, with hot chocolate, if you had ribbon that had like hot chocolates on it, that would be really pretty. You could incorporate gingerbread into that too. I know a lot of times with gingerbread they'll have like mugs and stuff like that, so you could always do that. Okay, so let's tie our sign in now. All right, so what we want to do is, our goal always is to hide the pipe cleaners, right? So we're gonna put our bow on the top of our wreath. So we're going to, let's see. Are we gonna do that? Can we make it hide 4? Let's see. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. All right, so we're gonna turn it like this. We're gonna put one pipe cleaner through this ribbon bundle. Okay. And then we're gonna put these ones kind of straight down. And that way, like, these are hidden, and then we're gonna put our bow in between those two up there. Okay? So let's just take our pipe cleaners. You know, even now sometimes, I was gonna say when I first started, no, still the same now. One of my biggest challenges was attaching my signs. You guys will have to let me know if that's where you're at too. Attaching my sign was always so challenging for me. Because you have to make sure it's even, you have to make sure that you kind of like pull it the same on the different ends. Okay, I'm gonna stick this one straight down. And I'm making sure that when I attach my sign, I kind of attach it diagonally. So I put this one in, and then I'll put this one in, and then this one and that one. And it kind of works best for me because it makes it mostly center usually when I do that. And if I have to adjust it a little bit, I can do that too. So I apologize for the delay here. I'm doing my best, but you know how things are when you're trying to do them on camera, right? Okay, so I'm trying to attach them to crossbars underneath here because I know with the crossbars, it's not gonna move. Okay, so I put those in there. There we go. Just pull out our ribbons a little bit. I'm gonna attach this one now. I'm gonna go right down in between these ribbons. And I did not use full pipe cleaners, I used half pipe cleaners. Just because I know that I won't use the full one. It might be a little bit easier to do it with a full one now that I'm doing this, but I feel like if I wasn't doing this recorded, I probably would do a little bit better. What do you guys think? All right, so here we go. We're making this nice and secure. Some people just attach, they'll put one tie on each, like they'll put one tie here and one tie there, and you can do that if you want. It's just whichever's your preference. Okay, this one is pretty tight and it's already, there we go. Okay. Go over here, put this one down through the mesh. And when I hang it up to take the pictures and stuff, if the sign needs to be, you know, tightened a little bit on either side to make it completely straight, then that's okay too. I can do that at that time. There we go. Sorry, I know attaching the signs is not the most exciting part, but I kind of wanted you guys to get a real-time situation, real-time look at this. All right, so we're gonna move our ribbons so they're kind of alternating and spread out. Okay. We want to cover up that mesh and we want to make it so that our ribbons are alternating. Okay. So we're doing like our snowflake, our burlap, our snowflake, our burlap. Okay, and then we'll put our sign up here, or our bow up there. All right, so while we're at it, let's cut some of these little strays back here. Let me go find my pine. Hold on. All right, so I have this one. It's from Hobby Lobby. I cut the tag off, but I felt like this green matches this really, really well. And I know that this is kind of long, but I feel like it's gonna help give some presence here, okay? So let me cut these off. We're gonna cut them right at the base. We don't need like so much length. We only need 6. So it works out because we don't need those pine cone ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's not a coincidence. I counted them before we got on here. All right, so let me go grab my glue pot real quick. We're gonna glue those in, and then I guess we're gonna have to be continued, unfortunately. I was trying to finish this all in one. You know what? We will. We're gonna do it. All right, so I'm just gonna dip that in there. Even with this one here, we're gonna stick it right behind that ribbon. Okay. This glue pot is nice and hot. If I was making this wreath, well, I wouldn't be making this wreath when it's hot out, but a lot of times here, or in general, not just in Michigan, but places that have storm doors, it gets really hot in between there. Like the sun can really magnify in the storm doors. I don't know what that's about exactly, but in that case, if I was making this storm door wreath, I would tie these in. I would not just stick them in because it gets really hot in between the doors and I wouldn't want like the glue to melt and for it to slip out, but since it's gonna be in winter time, it'll be okay. All right, let's just sneak that right in there. And I'm kind of being mindful that these branches are kind of tucked in and not sticking out beyond the ribbon on the outside, because we want this to be like a statement, but not like so much that it's too much. All right, and then we're gonna put our bow right there. So let me move this out of the way. All right, I think that's just enough pine for that to look good. All right, so here's what we have so far. Okay, we're gonna set this aside just for a moment and make our bow. All right, so this bow cannot have long tails. It just can't, because the tail will go over the sign. We don't want that. Okay, so let me get my bow maker. You guys, I ordered a new bow dabra, but then I tried to talk myself out of needing a new one. You guys ever do that? All right, so we're just making like 4-inch tails, like the same length of the loops is what we're gonna do with the tails. We're just gonna do 3 loops. This is gonna be kind of a little bow. Okay, 12. Okay, so that's about 5. It's about a 5-inch loop. I like big loops. Can't help it. Okay. All right, there we go. We're just making sure our loops are the same on both sides. Because this isn't gonna have big tails, because we don't want, this is a little bit of a different bow. Instead of the tails just coming down, they're gonna be, some are gonna be up, some are gonna be down. Okay. So we're gonna be using this gorgeous, it looks embroidered. It reminds me of something my mom would like. My mom is really into quilting. We're trying to, all right, so we're gonna do, since we have our tails over here, we're gonna do the tails over here on the side. We're gonna make them about 4, maybe a little more than 4. Okay, we're bringing it in about a 1/2 inch. So this time we're gonna have the 2 tails on the far side and the 2 loops on this side. I should have been spreading this as I go. Okay, so there we go. Let's get these loops open over here. There we go, putting them down. And then we're going over here. As always, I'm always using wired ribbon, because you can fluff it out, make it look really pretty. Okay, and even after you store it, it'll still look nice. Okay, dovetail that. We're gonna spread out our tails. Okay, and then we have our last ribbon. It's gonna be a 1.5 inch. It has this really pretty red and white rope stripe around the edge, which I think is really pretty. It ties together the red, the white, and the burlap too, like a little bit of a rustic look. Okay, and we're not going to be adding any more embellishments in that wreath besides our bow. Make sure the right side is coming down. Okay, twist, even though it's the same on both sides. I might add I wonder if I have a teeny tiny bell. I have to look. I think I have a little pine cone, actually. We're gonna leave that side straight. Oh, we don't need that. Okay, we're gonna dovetail this. And then we're gonna take a red pipe cleaner, because that's what color we use. I wonder if I do have those things. Oh, I do. Look how cute. This came off of the golden bell that I used. Oh, look at that. I think we'll see if that works. All right, let's finish up this wreath. Look how fast that can be. It hasn't even been 40 minutes yet. All right, there we go. I can't help it. I need to organize while I'm doing this. I want to make sure my hot glue is on. Yep, it's still on. Okay. Good, good, good. All right, we got our red pipe cleaner. There we go. We're gonna pull this off. We're gonna kind of twist it out. See how my loops are over here? My tails are over here, right? We got one, we got two, we got two, one, okay? Super cute. It's more of like a whimsical look, right? Without the tails coming down. This one is the thin wreath, so we can just twist this around like that. We twist it as tightly as we can around. Okay, and then we're gonna spread out our stuff. This, as you can see, this is like more of like a sideways bow, right? And then we're gonna stick our little pine right there. You guys, I'm not usually one for holding on to stuff, but I'm thankful I held on to that. It's adorable. And that's gonna be exactly what we need. Oh, yes, perfect. Okay, let me go stick a little bit of hot glue on it. I'm trying not to impale myself. Let's stick some hot glue on there. Alright. Try not to get too much on the side here, but it happened a little bit. Alright, let me just stick this right here. Okay. I stuck it right over the pipe cleaner. Oh my goodness. How adorable. Look at it. So cute. Alright. Stick it on our wreath, and then we're gonna be done. Just like that. All right. Pull up our wreath. Okay. Let's take our bow and put it right through. So right above, in between these two, right above it on the outside is where our ribbon bundle was. So I'm going to stick that top pipe cleaner through there. And then the bottom one we're going to put right on the other side of that pipe cleaner. Can you guys see the top of my hair? No? I know. When I was, when I had like the far view for my other, like when I was putting the embellishments in, goodness gracious, this is giving me troubles. I watched the video back and you could see like the back of the top of my hair. I'm like, oh, thank goodness my highlights are coming. My highlight appointment. All right. You guys are, this is giving me a trouble. They do sell, I know Wreath Decor by Dawn, she sells like these, they kind of like plastic needles, and you can put your pipe cleaner right through it, and then you can weave it through, and it works out a lot better than that did. All right, so I got it through. I got it. All right, pull it. It can be tight because we want this to be nice and flat. Okay, so I'm just twisting my pipe cleaners around the back, making sure it's nice and secure. We don't want our bow falling off or anything like that. All right, so there we go. So let's pull this down just a little bit. Okay. There we go. Open up our loops. And there we go. We are all done. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that? We're all done. See? Nice and skinny. Nice and full. Still 24 inches across. A little bit more with those pine sticks. And we're done. So make sure you guys leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about that. And this will be available shortly in my Etsy shop. And my Peekaboo Wreath, of course. And that's all she wrote. Thanks so much for hanging out. Talk to you guys later. Bye.